Hello, friends.
Hi.
It is Shanika and Caitlin with Get Checkered. Get Checkered is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. And today we get to give a shout out to another podcast on the network. I love this. You should too. A podcast about sharing the things you like with the people you love, regardless of how terrible you may think their taste may be. Definitely been there and have lived that. So learn more or listen to the podcast at albertapodcast.com. Hello, Caitlin. Oh my gosh.
Buongiorno.
We missed your beautiful face.
It's been a while.
I know. How does it feel to be back?
It's cold in Calgary. It was so warm in Hawaii. Take from that what you will.
And I'm very jealous. And something I've been wanting to ask you is just, how was it for you post 5 a.m. after the race? Because
shock. Confusion. I didn't know what I had just seen. I know like Kathy comes down the stairs and she's like, how was the race? I'm like, it was great. But like, I mean, like, we have a winner. And she's like, was it controversial? I'm like, very, very,
very much so.
And then we got to packing up the car, so didn't have too much time to think about it until I was on the plane. Then I slept, so I didn't have to think about it.
I know, and now it's 1 week later, and I think, as Courtney and I predicted, that there was just going to be a lot of drama this week, and there was, in fact, a lot of stuff tied to the end of the race, but then also just with Formula One in general. I had to take a couple day Formula One break after that race because, you know, again, Max, everyone deserves to win. Just really excited for all the people that got to win, but just the call from the stewards was just so, like you, shocking that I was like, I just can't see this content anymore. So I had to say I didn't want to see something is on TikTok and on Twitter. But we're back.
Well, it's the kind of call that you don't want to see decide the world champion, right? Like, if you make that call back at the first two races of the season, okay, it has less impact, but the impact was astronomical of that one call. And I do want to say also, I was thinking about this, Max fully deserves the win because he had a fantastic season. Everything up to this point had been going his way, right? And he would not have won with this little bit of luck at the end had he not had a phenomenal season.
100%.
So I think you can't take it away from him that he had a phenomenal season. I think for this race, if you try and look at it individually, maybe Lewis deserved to win this one race.
No, and I'm totally with you. I think that people forget that the criticism is not on Red Bull or Max. The criticism is just on how the Formula One, the FIA, and everyone's handling this whole situation, which is what has made headlines throughout the week, right?
And it's going to keep going.
And we're going to keep giving you updates on it because I think hopefully this is one step in many in making the sport just make more sense, especially regulations.
There's a whole bunch of new fans this year, us. These situations come up, we can't follow that.
We have no idea what's happening.
And then the answer we get is that wasn't the thing to do, and we're like, so why is that allowed?
Oh my gosh. Okay, Caitlin. So what has happened since the race? Race ends. We fade to black. Courtney and I record the podcast.
Fade to black.
Fade to black.
So and Shanika and I had to talk this out before the podcast because there was a lot of pieces going on, and we're like,
exactly.
What? So pretty much Shanika and Courtney did say it at the end of last episode. Mercedes launched 2 protests, and they were subsequently dismissed by the FIA. And then it was Mercedes lodging an intent to appeal that decision of dismissal. And they have, Shaq and I looked it up, they have 96 hours from that intention letter to actually file a formal appeal. But they didn't go through with that. And we found out Thursday morning because, Shanika.
Right. So to clarify, I guess, everything that went on, Mercedes withdrew the appeal Thursday morning. According to the Washington Post and literally everywhere on Twitter, so I can't reference all the people that I looked at this from, that Mercedes withdrew the appeal because the FIA installed a commission to thoroughly analyze what happened in Abu Dhabi and to improve the robustness of rules, governance, and decision-making in Formula One. So what are they going to be looking into exactly?
Like you're actually asking me. I think they're going to be looking into what they can do to make sure shit like that does not happen again. Right.
Yeah.
And it's being run by the FIA? Are they involving the teams in that commission maybe?
So from what I understood, it is the FIA investigating itself, which is, I think, one of the bigger problems.
Like you can do internal audits for sure, but I think
with this
there's merit in this situation to include other opinions.
Right. I think this is the time to just bring someone else in to take a look at what's going on. Bring all the teams.
I think they're afraid though. If you do that, it would open big can of worms. And they'd be like, this is definitely the wrong decision.
This is the time. You know, you have made international headlines. There's so much crap just being said. This is the time to bring in someone external to the organization to run that audit and look at the rules and figure out where there are discrepancies, where there is just like, it's just not clear. This is the time to do it. Obviously the FIA is not going to do that, but it just, it would be nice. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
I think like the way I would handle this is you involve a third party to look into things so you can make it better for the future. But you make it damn clear that like we stand by the decisions made for this season. We will not be overturning the results based on our findings. You just make that statement and then you do the right thing to change things going forward.
100%. And I think that with like even Mercedes doesn't want things to be overturned either. Like in the statement that they put out congratulating Max and Red Bull, it was mostly Max. It was like less Red Bull, but still.
Well, even at this point, if they appealed it and took away Max's title, like that doesn't mean the same as if Lewis won it in Abu Dhabi, and he knows that.
Yeah, and I think that's what sucks about this race in general is that Max has won with an asterisk, right? There's like but this is what actually happened. And if Lewis, like you said, if they went through with the appeal and it was overturned and it got very serious, y'all, like we were seeing, you know, that even back at headquarters, essentially like Toto, yes, had a lawyer in Abu Dhabi, but then they were like meeting with lawyers when they came back from Abu Dhabi, and same with Red Bull was starting to bring in lawyers. So it was about to get really messy. But if you do overturn it, you're right. Then Lewis wins with the asterisks, right? The asterisks of all this other shit. So I think either way, it's just not a good thing. And I think Mercedes is doing, I don't want to say the right thing, but the higher road thing of just being
right?
like,
kind of, it seems like it, but it also at the same time is like Mercedes lodging those protests in the first place and like dragging the outcome out. Lots of people are seeing that as being unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, which I can understand that perspective.
I can understand it. I don't know what the right path is for Mercedes here, because I backed the decision that I think that was a terrible decision,
right,
by Michael Masi, right? But it had an outcome, and sometimes you just have to live with the outcome.
No, and I actually agree with you. That was my surprise after the race. Like we didn't do the podcast together, but after Max won, I was like, okay, like there's, you know, yes, Michael Masi made a bad call. They just need to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. And maybe Mercedes, by throwing their weight around a little bit, like this is how they made sure that they prevent it from happening in the future. Like, I don't know, but even with the withdrawal, was Toto and Lewis happy, Caitlin?
No. No. Like we have seen on social media that Toto sent a congratulatory text to Max, which is pretty much like being like, we're not going to overturn your world title. I think, right? Like you could infer that. I think Lewis has been radio silent. I think that's probably a very good thing. I think he has a lot of thoughts in his head that if you say them out loud, they could be taken way sideways. So to internalize that for a certain length of time
is a good thing.
Not a bad idea.
I completely agree. And with the withdrawal that happened, I think that a lot of people were expecting things to be a little bit different, but tied to Toto and Lewis and the Mercedes vehicles in general, they were all missing from the prize giving ceremony with the FIA, right?
For the F1, like I think the
F1,
FE and the virtual racing one, like they were there, but Toto and Lewis did not make a showing at that FIA prize giving gala.
Yeah, and actually tied to Formula E, they didn't have their cars there.
Formula E didn't?
No, even though Mercedes won the whatever their version of the constructors is.
Yeah.
So they were not very happy. I will say though, for the gala, Valtteri did show up and took home his like P3 little award that he gets. But I was really concerned that they would just ask him a lot of questions that he wouldn't have answers to, which is tied to like, where's Toto? Where's Lewis? Where's Mercedes? Like, what's going on? But I think it's also a good call. Like Caitlin said, if you have so many things going on in your head about what happened, it is best just to not be there for both of them. And Toto said in interviews after, like they've been more public about everything, that he just had a hard time compartmentalizing like the team success versus like what happened to Lewis. So I think if you're feeling that way and you've now been honest about it, it's good that you weren't there.
Yeah, and I think so. The one downside, and this is something we only saw this morning, ESPN F1 put on their social media that there was this young kart driver that was going to hand over Lewis's trophy, and he was so excited to give it to Lewis, and he was quoted saying like, "I was so excited to carry your trophy to you to show you my helmet with the first star, but you were not there. You are the greatest driver in my heart." And I was like,
and this kid is so cute. I wonder if I can find a tweet or something with his photo, but he is just like the sweetest little angel babe. Like he is so small and so cute. And I'm sure that, you know, this will go up the Mercedes, you know, grapevine or something, and someone will
do
get
something for him.
Yeah, because he was so cute.
Like, because Shanika and I, we are both agreeing that like if you're not in the right headspace, you should not have to do that to yourself. That's a big mental health moment, actually, right?
100%.
And this poor little kid, I hope he gets something out of it. But at the same time, let's talk about role models, because Lewis is top of the game, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And he has to be a role model. That's the side that you don't really sign up for when you
become the best, right? Yeah.
But he's been put there because he's so good and he's very outspoken. So being a role model, he was at least like on the podium at Abu Dhabi. He was civil and he congratulated Max, and I thought that was huge.
I thought so too. Yeah,
very important.
I would have been crying.
Yeah.
I would have been like borderline crying because I was upset, but then also just like angry. Like the fact that he did all that.
Right? Like I don't know how I would have reacted. I think based on previous experiences, when things don't go my way,
wouldn't have been that.
Team sport usually I've dealt with, but like sometimes you can get so angry with decisions, like people shake, right? Like you're literally so mad you don't talk to anyone. The fact that Lewis was able to at least bring himself to a level where he could congratulate people, stand on the podium, that is needed. If he didn't do that, it'd be really upsetting to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. And I think that consistency needs to be held though for holding him to that standard. Like, let's not forget that yes, Max was on the podium for the race before, but then he like walked off immediately.
Yeah, like Lewis, that's the showmanship we will be holding the F1 drivers to, including you, Max. Like you can't just walk off.
Yeah, just be there for it. And speaking of the lovely Lewis Hamilton, he's officially a sir. Like he's been a sir for a little bit, but he's officially a sir.
Yeah, I saw the knighting photos from he's still Prince Charles, right? Queen's still there.
Yeah, Queen's still kicking it. Okay, Queen is not going anywhere.
His mom. It was so cute.
I feel like that's blasphemous. The Queen is fine, everyone.
Queen is good.
She's chilling. We love the Queen. Having a good time. I just didn't realize that they had people on like a teeny tiny stool.
Yeah.
When you take a knee, like I thought they were actually on the ground. But Lewis was on like this teeny tiny stool. And I was like, okay, I did not know. But that was pretty much the only time we saw him pop up after the race. Like he has still taken, he hasn't posted anything on social media. He went to England, got knighted, and we saw the photos of him and his mom. And it was for excellence in motorsport, I think. And there are 3 others before him that have also been knighted for motorsport. But the thing is, he's the only one that's still competing to be knighted. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah, everyone else is like retired and then they got knighted. So I thought it was pretty cool. And the last thing kind of tied to this Mercedes stuff is, did you hear their interview with Toto after they withdrew everything and made their statement?
No.
Okay, so Toto said that he's not sure if Lewis will return. We know that Lewis is on contract, but I wonder if there's like what clauses are in there that could make him not return. But he said that Lewis is very
Oh,
disillusioned right now by the sport, which is fair,
yeah.
honestly fair.
The sport let him down, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't his team. It wasn't his competitors. It was the sport.
Yeah.
The regulatory bodies, let's be very clear. But I hope that's not true. To end a career on that note would be devastating for him. I think even if he comes back and doesn't win another world championship, I hope it's still fun for him. Like, this is an isolated event and they are seriously considering how to fix it going forward.
Yeah.
So I hope he's able to find fun in the sport again. If he takes a year off, okay, that's okay. But I hope he has an intention to come back eventually.
I still want him to get his eighth, to be honest. Like, we know he's talented enough. Really, this year, everyone thought he didn't stand a chance, especially towards like the beginning. I would say the beginning to like the middle of the season, it was like, there's no way. But towards the end, you really saw, and frankly, with that final race, like he should have taken his eighth, right? So I actually think he's fully capable of winning his eighth, but I do think just taking a break, we know it's like a 3-month break, technically, not less than 98 days now. So it doesn't feel like a lot of time to like really let this settle in, but I am here for like a Lewis Hamilton Mercedes revenge era, like where they just come back even stronger, and that Lewis can take his eighth because he is more than talented. He can do it. I think that people need to get over it. I don't know.
I think it all comes down to if he has fun. You know, if he tries to go racing right now or in the next month, it won't be fun for him. I doubt it would. So he needs to give himself that time.
What I don't understand is why. So we heard this a lot with Eccleston, who we'll talk about later, but even like a few other people, they're like, I'm so glad that like Michael Schumacher's legacy is still intact or whatever. And I'm like, why do people care? Like, these world records are made so people can break them, right? And I think if Michael Schumacher was alive, he would be like, what the hell are you all talking about? Like, if someone is better, let them
we're
be
going
better.
to clarify, he's still alive. He's just...
Oh, right. Sorry. He is still alive. Sorry. He's just is a little different. He's just chilling. Like the queen, just like chilling. Yes, he's alive, just not racing. And if he was more able,
if he was able to say, and like if he was able to watch and like speak on matters, I think he'd be very impressed with how Lewis is doing.
Well, yeah, and I don't think he would have this like weird ownership of being the person that's won all these titles. You know what I mean? Like, I think he'd like, yeah, I did it. So now it's there, the bar set, people come break it. I don't know. I just think it's really weird when people are like, oh, you know, thank you FIA or Formula One for maintaining like Schumacher's legacy. It's like Schumacher's legacy is still there. It lives on in his kid too. Like, come on.
And I think that's what honestly a lot of the argument is about, is like, we can't forget about Michael, and no one's going to forget about Michael.
Yeah, no one. What he's done for the sport it's in everything that they do now. So it's like, that's never going to go away. So I don't know why there's, like I said, this weird ownership and like this bar that needs to be set that no one can beat Michael Schumacher. It's like, yes, people can. And hopefully we do have a driver. If it's not Lewis Hamilton, it might be Max. It might be who else. Yeah.
It might not be Lewis forever either.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, you guys.
100%. And I don't think any of us want it to be Lewis forever either. Oh my God, people. Come on.
Yeah. Sport is like, you want to be the best, but I think it takes a certain kind of like, I think it's good sport to understand that like you're the best, and understanding that you're the best right now.
Yeah. And there's going to be younger, faster, better people behind you. and all you can do is like set a legacy up for yourself, and that legacy can be broken, and that's okay. Like you'll still be remembered. Like I don't know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, this whole like making people immortal forever is also a weird human trait, but whatever, we won't get into that.
It is really weird.
We are going to keep, so yes, okay, Shani, do you think Lewis is going to return?
Oh my God, he better. Like, I think with the new year, I think it's going to be harder come next year to really like wipe the floor with teams. But I do think if his heart is still in it, I want him back. But if his heart's not in it, then he shouldn't do it. But I also think like I said, the revenge version of Mercedes and Lewis coming back after this season, after literally having it taken away from you in the last like lap. Yeah, why not? You know?
Yeah.
Please come back.
He's a Capricorn. Keep that mountain. The mountain doesn't stop. You just had a very difficult cliff to find your way around, sir. The mountain's still there. Anyway, so okay, Yashank and I are hoping he comes back, but we hope he does it based on love of the sport. And if he doesn't have a love for the sport, how can we get Checkered fam help Lewis get his love for motorsport back? Maybe that's our challenge.
And I hope he is seeing, like, there was a lot of stuff trending in the week after Abu Dhabi saying like I stand with Lewis, and it was just a lot of his fans talking about how impactful he's been in their lives. So I'm hoping he got to see that in some regard. Maybe he didn't because he doesn't seem to be on social, and that's fine too, but there are a lot of people that believe in him, and I think losing him now after he had such a comeback this season is just like, it's not great. But I don't know, we'll see.
Yep, everyone keep your eyes up. we'll be keeping you updated too on our episodes, but
exactly.
We're going to kind of stay on the same controversy train. Talk more about like Michael Massey and his internal contradictions, like personal internal contradictions with this whole situation with safety cars and lap cars. So Shank and I looked up what happened last year in October at the Eiffel GP, so one in France. And Michael was quoted to say, there's a requirement in the sporting regulations to waive all the lap cars passed. So why is it in Abu Dhabi 2021 that Michael Massey makes the decision that only 5 selected lap cars can pass? And then he comes out to tell Toto, this is motor racing. We're going to have a motor race.
And I think that's the piece that hasn't been covered enough, is that by letting 5 lapped cars through, or whatever decision was made, it actually ended up hurting everyone else that was trying to compete. Because as much as like, yes, it's Max versus Lewis, there's also tons of other people that could get the points. Lest we forget, Carlos Sainz, you know, yes, he ended up on the podium in the end, but Yuki Tsunoda was only 0.5 behind him. And you see the, I would say, surprise from the other drivers as well, because when the decision was made, there's a lot more audio from all the teams have been released, and all of them were like, what just happened? And I think, again, it's short-sighted, right? FIA, Formula One, Michael Massey, only focusing on the 2 people up front and not even thinking about anyone else.
The implications, like everyone else is on the radio with their engineers being like, what is happening? What is that called?
Exactly.
So that is just showing that like Michael Massey, I don't have a lot of respect for him right now, especially like, so you see that and that's a personal decision he made, right? Now we also find out that there's contradictions in the regulations themselves, which is possibly what they can do. Like they'll look into something like that in the commission, hopefully. I actually first heard it in the video from WTF1. They have a full YouTube on this one, but pretty much it comes down to like, there's 2 clauses and they pretty much directly contradict each other. One right after another, I think, in the regulations. One is 39.12. The next one, I think, is 39.13. And one says like the safety car, once it's announced, is going to leave at the end of the following lap. And then the next one goes on to say, no, the safety car, once it's said, it's going to leave at the end of this lap. And it's like,
it's just not clear.
Well, that should be cleared up, shouldn't it?
Humans are fallible. They're gonna make mistakes like this. And I think a lot of the time you don't think it's gonna have a bit impact, but then it had a huge one, right?
Yeah. So we'll learn. I hope that gets fixed though, because and also I don't think Michael Massey should be allowed to make a unique call like that. Right? Like he's speaking on behalf of the regulations, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the answer is. Is there someone like making sure that he's following the regulations before it goes out to the teams or something?
I don't know. I think they do need to think about the process because it's just a lot of races. It's one human being. Like he's going to make mistakes. So what's the check basically? That
does it all come down to money? Because he wanted to make more money having controversial and impactful last lap.
Caitlin with all the conspiracies. I mean, I don't know. We need to talk about this at the end of the episode, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch the Drive to Survive right now as of December 19th, 2021. The thought of watching the Drive to Survive episode on Abu Dhabi makes me feel sick to my stomach. Like, I don't think I can watch it. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe Michael Massey was just trying to cause some drama. To kind of switch gears and talk about the positives, some massive celebrations at the Red Bull headquarters, and of course with the team and Max, and then also for Mercedes at the headquarters. We saw the Mercedes party. Toto went a little wild. I
fucking loved it. I saw those videos on TikTok and I'm like, is this recent? Like, is this it's a recent Toto going ham at these parties, doing crowd surfing, like dancing,
so drunk.
I was like, I didn't know I could love you more. This is amazing.
It's so wild because he's always just so on it, and then he was just I wonder if we can find that video again, but if I can, I will link it in the description. If I can't find it, I'm sorry, you'll have to find it somewhere. But we'll
try and TikTok it. That would be fun.
He's clearly drunk, like out of his goddamn mind.
But it's also, and I think like what Shanika was saying earlier, Toto had to really compartmentalize, like, the joy for a team, for thousands of people that came together to win this Constructors Championship versus like his heartbreak and his relationship with Lewis, understanding that Lewis, that's what he's concentrating on. And so like you want to have part with that, but you also want to celebrate with your thousands of workers that put blood, sweat, and tears themselves into winning this Constructors Championship. So I'm glad he celebrated with them.
And they've won now 8 in a row, y'all.
That's unprecedented, right?
It's insane.
There's that meme with like the top half is someone's giving attention over here and someone's being left out, and then the bottom half of the meme is like the skeleton at the bottom of the ocean. I feel almost like, if we're looking at a big picture, Mercedes winning the 8th world title is like on the top half at least, but it's not the one being paid attention to. But the fact that like Carlos Sainz finished 3rd is at the bottom of the ocean that no one really saw.
Which we need to like justice for Carlos Sainz, truly.
Carlos.
He has had the weirdest podiums. There also was if you go to Mercedes Instagram, by the way, you need to see this, a massive celebration for Valtteri and his final send-off. That's actually when we saw all 3 of them together again. So like we said, Lewis
cute,
Lewis like dropped off the map, and then finally we saw the photos come out from having Toto, Lewis, and Valtteri just in the same space, like doing something at the headquarters. Valtteri was chit-chatting, a bunch of people, there was like hugs and everything shared. And at the end of the evening, it was quite the send-off. There was like fireworks and tons of people with giant signs.
Valtteri was like a cannonball into a pool.
That was after the race.
Oh, what a guy.
I know.
He's having fun.
Yeah, seriously, like he just had fun, and it was so good to see, because I think that was also my concern, is like, holy crap, this team is so, like, clearly it makes sense why they're upset over what happened. But I hope they like give Valtteri a really good farewell, and they really, really did. There was, like I said, fireworks, confetti, all of the staff were out with all these signs. They like drove them around in this like old Mercedes. Like it was just very sweet. So thank you to Mercedes for doing that, because it was quite the send-off for King, and actually the most successful driving partnership in Formula One history. So thank you, Valtteri, for all your time. And now we're gonna like see what you do in Alfa Romeo.
I've seen it everywhere. It's like Quietos.
I don't know how to pronounce it. If anyone knows, yeah, it's like I don't know if that means like it means thank
I
you,
think it's
right?
thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce
I
it.
don't know what that means. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's all over. Everyone can spell it out, but come on, people, we need to hear it actually pronounced.
How do you pronounce it? Please, anyone that is us.
Anyways, okay, we're going to keep going though with more news, more thoughts on how everything was handled kind of throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
Definitely a big part of it came down to how it was handled at Abu Dhabi, but like how team principals interact with the FIA.
Which, like, this was one of the things that Courtney and I mentioned in the last episode, where I was like, they need to stop the team principals from being able to contact Michael Massey. Like, he needs to be able to make a decision on his own about what's happening and not have Toto screaming in one ear.
Sporting regulations.
Yeah. And they just need to make it stop. So what did we learn?
I think throughout the whole season, we did see an abuse of communication from Toto and Christian. We're not letting Christian get off the hook with this one. I can't remember what race it was, but both of them, like, you saw them. It might have been Silverstone.
It probably was.
I remember, but they both walked out, and you could see them like just walk into the stewards room and talk to Michael Massey. And it's like, I think the other team principals were just probably like, what?
Just stop.
Right. And it wasn't a one-time event, right? Like we saw and we heard them talking to Michael Massey all the time. And so Andrea Seidel, actually, I really like Andrea Seidel.
Me too. I'm a fan.
So he was quoted to say the FIA is far too lenient with the team principals and what they say to the FIA.
Which I think.
And I want to add a note to this, because after Abu Dhabi, Jeff came down and he was like, he referees basketball. And he's like, if coaches are like saying anything bad to me as a referee, I can kick them out, right? Like, there's no room for that. Sorry. So there's no room for speaking to like the referees, or in this case, it'll be the FIA like that. I fully agree. I don't know. What would it do to kick a team principal out of a race?
I mean, I think it teaches consequences, which is the biggest thing. And even Toto's agreed with this. He called on the FIA, according to gpfans.com, to make a rule change preventing team principals from making direct contact with Michael Massey. He totally admitted that everyone just abused it, including himself. I think this is just one of many rules that need to change, but I agree. Like, also, it's like annoying for us to hear too, them just like whine and try and do whatever they can to make it work in their best interest, which, you know, this time around, like with the controversial call at the end, it doesn't look very good for the FIA, Formula One, Michael Massey, when Christian Horner hops on and says, I want more, like one more racing lap. And then Michael Massey says, hold on, and then ends up adjusting. So it just doesn't look good. So I think this is a rule that needs to go through for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's been fun hearing their conversations with FIA, but it's breached the privacy that I don't think is like, it's very fun for us to listen to, but I don't think it's necessary, and it creates more drama. Yeah.
It's good for Netflix, not good for everyone else.
Which, like, okay. F1 was around before Netflix.
That's true.
Right? Not everything needs to be for Netflix at this point.
No, and actually, I would prefer if they were just doing it like not at all actually for Netflix. Just do what you need to do to make sure the drivers are safe and the racing is fair. I think is the most important thing. Netflix will cut and edit things the way that makes it exciting, so you don't have to worry about that. Yep. The next headline this week is, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. There's a new president for the FIA.
Yep.
Jean
Todt.
There we go.
I think that's how you would pronounce that.
Has handed the title over to Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Yeah, okay, we can work with that. Mohammed is the first non-European president, which is really, really exciting. And as soon as he was announced to take the job, we need to note he's actually a former rally driver too. So he has experience doing this. He's been in this space for a very long time. Twitter was just filled with a bunch of racist people. So y'all, let's just let the the first non-European, do the job first before we criticize them for anything. And if you do criticize them, let's just make sure it's not racist. Like, come on, y'all. It's the bare minimum. It's not that hard. And there also have been calls online to see Michael Massey be fired. Caitlin, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting.
You think it's interesting?
It's one of two ways. For my preference is like, it can be, okay, maybe the first way is a little bit mean, but like use it as leverage to pull him in. Be like, people are calling for you to be fired because you're making terrible decisions that reflect badly on the sport. And so you're going to have to rein it in, learn the regulations better. Maybe, like, I don't know if that's maybe the case or not, but like, he just needs to like figure something out to be a better race director, or actually let him go.
Yeah, I also think that like firing him is just, it's like, if he doesn't want to change anything, then yes, but at the same time, there's no one that can really take his spot. So they either need to find a better.
So there must be. I don't know the organization actually that well, but there's also like all past drivers. I don't know if you would actually want one of them being race director, but it might be a very stressful job. So maybe not a lot of people don't want to do it, but I think there's enough expertise from people in the community that someone could be a race director.
I mean,
I don't want Michael to think that he's safe in that role and that no one else can do it. Because
I think that's a good point. But yeah, I don't know who they would toss in there, but I do think he just needs more support. So it's either like he gets in line, works really hard to make sure the rules are consistent, and then gets the support around him to make sure that
he has the resources readily available to make the right call. That's
exactly.
Good.
And then we just see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, it's been very split online from journalists who are, I wouldn't even say journalists, but just like pundits, basically, who used to drive before. They're very like, he did a great job, or he didn't do a great job. He did the best he could. So I don't know. We'll have to see what ends up happening.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not a fan of it. I can't believe he, like, the fact he goes on radio, and this is captured for the world to hear, where it's the talk with Toto, and he's like, well, Toto, it's like motor racing, and Toto's like, what? He's like, yeah, so we're going to have a race.
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes it personal. That's not following why you have regulations.
Yeah, so I suppose that if he'd followed his own regulations, and the race would have ended under a safety car, which I know people wouldn't have been happy about, but it would have at least followed regulations. It still would have been controversial, but it wouldn't have been this controversial.
Not if it's written down, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can just say it's in the rules, like it's.
And then you can say, we'll work on the rules and see if they can have changes, and then you involve teams and drivers in to see if that rule needs to change.
Exactly.
But to like willy-nilly just call and say like, no, we're going to have a race. Everyone was probably happy to hear that, but then the result is it's this, and it's not a good look for FIA. No. You want to be talked about in a positive light. You don't want to be talked about in a negative light, and that's all there is.
And it's a fucking mess right now. We'll say it. It's a mess. The last sort of headline isn't a headline. It's an amalgamation of headlines, which is, I think Bernie Eccleston, whatever, needs to stop. People, this is probably going to be the only time that we ever talked about him, but seriously, reporters, stop putting a microphone in front of his face. He has been making the rounds to the media after the race because obviously he is who he is. And he's been insinuating things like Lewis doesn't deserve to be knighted. He said, and I quote, "Many who are knighted don't deserve it." This man is such a piece of work. He also said that Lewis winning 8 titles wouldn't make him the GOAT, which is the greatest of all time. And he said, and I quote, "In fact, I'm surprised Lewis didn't say at the beginning of the year, I'm stepping down. I don't want to win more races or world championships than Michael." What? Would you expect Max to do the same? Like, I don't know.
I don't know what year Bernie Eccleston's from.
I mean, he's very ancient. Like, he looks like, we've talked about this before. He looks like a Disney villain. He looks like he should be in The Incredibles or something. He's like, yeah, we love a short king. Like, don't get me wrong, but he's just like a little gremlin looking kind of person. Anyways, another side note to Ecclestone is that his wife, Fabiana, has been elected the FIA vice president. So some background is that the two of them got married in 2019 when she was working at the marketing department of the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. Sorry, that's when they met. They got married in 2012 and then had a little baby named Ace in 2020. I made a note that like, Caitlin, is this like weirdly nepotism? No, because Caitlin found the right word, which is cronyism.
Cronyism. It's a word I've never actually heard before, but you guys, it's a word we should be cognizant of and we can use, because nepotism is about family connections. Mm-hmm. So if Ecclestone's not actually actively in a higher position or within the FIA, even if he's just like an advisor over there, perhaps it's nepotism, but like more so he's not actively in like those high profile roles. So cronyism is favoritism towards friends or affiliates. So that can be if the FIA is friends with Ecclestone, and like he's married to this wife, so they're affiliated with her through him, and they know, like, they would consider perhaps friends with her through him. That would be cronyism. Cronyism? Yeah. Cronyism. So we think that's the right word for this.
Yeah. Anyways, we don't want to discount her work. We don't know her well enough, but there are definitely some question marks around her hiring. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I feel like the drama is never over. But speaking of drama, I think we're going to talk about some quick little back and forths from 2021 season after this ad break.
Let me do this ad break.
Yes.
I haven't done it in a while. Okay. Yeah, cold drafts, flickering lights, and where's that leak coming from? If you've ever wondered what's really going on in your home, Rumi's Ask a Home Inspector service can help. Connect with a certified professional home inspector by phone or video call and get your questions answered. Rumi will let you know what's easily fixable with a little DIY or when you might want to call in some professional help. So visit rumi.ca, that is RUMI.ca, and book your Ask a Home Inspector appointment today.
Awesome. So, Caitlin, the drama.
We're going to recap the drama through all the races, you guys. Let's just go down memory lane for 2021.
Yeah, I wish we could do maybe I'll try to find the sound where it's like the little like wand thing where you're like going back in time. So we need to start in Imola because
yeah, we didn't do this in Bahrain. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we did. We didn't start watching until Imola, so we don't have any, I guess, drama there. But I guess our first race,
we'll get it next year, you guys. Okay, exactly. We'll get all of them next year.
All of them for sure.
So we're gonna start with Imola. Okay, what happened in Imola? What was the big drama?
Georgie and Valtteri. If anyone remembers, it was that really big crash where
it was like it was rainy on the race. Mm-hmm. And I think George went out onto the wet part to overtake Bottas. Maybe hit a bit of grass.
It was a mess.
Bottas went really hard into the left wall.
Yeah,
and kind of, I think, came back and hit George. And we saw when they were both stationary, like Bottas took a long time to get out of his car.
He was winded for sure. Like there's
no. Georgie gets out. We think he's going to come out and like
see if he's okay.
Okay. Yeah. No. Georgie came out, fucking the guns firing. You're like, you're trying to kill us? To Bottas. That was the drama.
Yeah.
It was intense.
It was intense because it didn't just stay on the track. So we see Georgie hit Bottas over the head with his gloves, right? And I was like, oh my God. And then in interviews afterwards, George was saying it was so dangerous. Like he wouldn't have done that if he wasn't worried about his seat. Okay, people, this is race number 2 of the season. And Georgie was already bringing this up. So.
Well, and then I remember Toto did the interview and he's like, he can either drive for Mercedes next year or back in the Renault Cup. It was more of a Renault Cup kind of run. And then I think George had to like backtrack, or he got talked to from Toto and issued an apology for being so
vocal in that way. Yeah. So I looked into Portimao, and there wasn't that the race itself wasn't that interesting. Nothing super spicy happened, but at Portimao, Lewis Hamilton got his 100th pole position. So which is huge for his career and who he is. But yeah, the race itself wasn't too spicy. Just Lewis and Max going at it at the front of the grid.
Fair enough. I'm pretty sure they probably had like a touch at that race, like they had a bump maybe, but
there was a lot of what is it? I was watching a video back, and it was that turn one, not the turn one when the race started, but it was like at turn one again on a lap, and you see them come very, very close to touching, and Max just gets his elbows out even more and makes the corner. But I think that's the first sign of, okay, Max is very
first glimpse of what is going to happen
for the rest of the season. Oh God.
Yeah, we went to Barcelona after that, and I don't know, people constantly call the Barcelona track boring. There wasn't actually that much drama that happened on this one either.
No, the only thing was that Mercedes did the 2-stop strategy on something that should have been a 1-stop, and it actually worked out in favor. Lewis with fresher tires was able to swing past Max.
Oh yeah, and like Lewis had the big rush at the end of the like last bit of the race and just like blew by everyone.
Exactly.
I don't remember that, but yeah, pretty uneventful. And then we started, I think every single one after that, had shit go on. So go to Monaco,
which is still on our bucket list of places that we'd like to go. There's 2 things that happened. I'm gonna leave the Charles one to Caitlin because she's loves.
I put the Charles note down. I forgot the other one. Oh, that brings back such bad memory.
You can speak on Charles. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, Charles was first so he qualified first. Charles gets pole. Charles is the only Montagesi driver right now, so it's his own race, and like that's fucking awesome. Monaco's hard to pass on. We want to see him win.
Yeah, so excited.
He can't start the race because he crashed his car, I think, and I think they just couldn't get it ready again for race day in time. So just heartbreak. Charles could not race in his home race after getting pole.
And with that, we were like, okay, this is devastating. And with that race, something else super heartbreaking happened. Valtteri Bottas, P1, carrying it home. All of us so excited because Valtteri, this is when like the rumblings really started that this might be his last season because he was really struggling. Then we just see him go into the pits and his name just fall down the little rankings, and we quickly learn that he DNFs after being so far out in P1 because they cannot get the thing. What's the thing?
They couldn't get the nut off of the tire, and so Valtteri was like, it was like a 45-second pit, and Shanika said it. We saw his name just drop through the rankings. He's still in the pit. They still are trying to get the tire off, and then you see the mechanics just sit back.
Yeah.
Point like head in the hands, and it's like that tire is not coming off, and we learned that they had to ship that back to like home base to have that tire removed, and like, they had to shear the nut so much from trying to get it off
that they couldn't get it off. Like they actually couldn't get it.
What was the root reason? Like they were going at it at an angle just from the way Valtteri stopped. I remember someone was trying to blame it on Valtteri because of where he stopped.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think it's just like car mechanics, but we know that, they went back home. We know that the Ferrari garage tried to get it off too, and they couldn't do it either. So it was so heartbreaking.
Ooh, that was rough to see.
That was so bad.
Oh God, I forgot about that, but okay, it continues. Baku is next. Drama in Baku.
We did do an episode on this actually as well, and I'll take the first one, but there was tire blowouts from Lance Stroll and Max, and with Lance,
very high speeds.
Very, very high speeds. There was no indication that it was about to happen for both of them. For Max, though, he was obviously leading the Grand Prix, and tire blew out. We see him like get out of the car, kick his tire.
If you guys wondered where that meme came from, where Max kicks his rear left tire, it is Baku 2021.
100%, it's from Baku. And you also get the audio from Lance Stroll, who just again super high speed, wasn't expecting it, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. But then the medics actually do appear, and he goes back with them, just precaution. But there was also another fuck up, wasn't there, Caitlin?
Oh, so we see Max was in first and he gets fucked. So he's DNF and they have a restart. And Lewis has a chance to gain a whole bunch of points on Max on this one.
Yeah.
But boy, he's going into turn one from the grid. He's a little bit too hot and he goes straight. He doesn't make the turn. He just goes straight. He locked up. He did not make the turn.
No, he just went straight, and it was literally driver error. Like he said that he like did the wrong thing.
He never makes mistakes like that, but
yeah.
He
just went straight. I mean, like it was his race to win, truly, and it just didn't happen.
Well, yeah. Okay. Next up, we had France, Le Cassier, and it was that funky circuit with all the lines on it.
I don't remember this one for some reason. I just remember this one had like the weirdest trophies.
Yeah, the gorillas.
Yeah, that's all I remember from this race.
Yeah, I guess like nothing too dramatic happened at this one.
No, the only thing that happened was that Red Bull pulled the two stop. So the one thing that worked out in favor for Mercedes in Barcelona actually worked out in favor for Red Bull in France. So I was hoping for a Pierre Gasly on the podium. That did not happen, but you know, it's fine. You win some, you lose some. It's okay.
Right? We continue. Next up, we go to Red Bull Ring twice because of one of the canceled races. They canceled. Is this around the time when the Canadian GP would have been going on?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe. So we had two Red Bull Rings back to back. First one called the Styrian GP, due to the province of Styria. And then the second one was the Austrian GP. So what happened at Red Bull Ring round one?
Nothing really. It's a ring that's super comfortable for Red Bull. So Max like quickly got out in front and was very comfortable in the lead. But the exciting stuff happened between Valtteri and Checo. We really started seeing the Red Bull and Mercedes strategy come into play because both of them were really aggressive and trying to duke it out to be third, P3. In the end, Valtteri came out on top and finished P3, right behind Lewis with Max in first. So not surprising, kind of the split that we're used to.
So yeah, we pretty much have that result, and then we go a week later right back. But this one had a bit more drama. For the whole field, it was what we could refer to as the 5-second penalty extravaganza.
I don't remember this at all.
But do you remember that meme of someone just like doing the Wolf of Wall Street, like throwing just money up, but it was like FIA 5-second penalties? That was this race.
Yeah, I guess like literally everyone got 5-second penalties, didn't they?
Well, like every 2 seconds there's another pop-up on the screen and we're like, why? What? That's coming up now? But yeah, it was wild. Everything was getting penalized.
Yep. And
I think that started the question of like, let them race, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of discussion, I think, that stemmed from all those penalties to be like, there's a point at which it's just like hard racing. And there's a point at which it's like, it's crossed the line. So for the rest of the season, they maybe went a bit more lenient the other way.
Yeah, maybe the pendulum swung in the other direction a little too hard. Next, we went to the UK to Silverstone,
which was the first sprint race, right? First sprint qualifying for this season.
And what happened? Like probably one of the biggest points of controversy. Hey.
Oh yeah, it was something happened. So on race day, we had Lewis and Max going into, what was that called? Cobb's Corner?
Yeah, something like that. It was like a really bad name.
And it was the whole situation that it's a right turn and Lewis is on the right hand side. I'm trying to cut on the inside and Max is on the outside. And it was the whole thing, you guys. You remember what happened. They came together. Was Lewis far enough in front that he was considered like Max should have backed off and gone wider? Or should Lewis have backed off because he wasn't quite in line with Max? Anyways, they collide. Max goes flying into that barrier at, what was it, like 52G or something?
Yeah, 52 Gs straight into the barrier.
And then there was the controversy that like Max was in the hospital because of that, or like getting checks, and Lewis is celebrating his victory at Silverstone, and they're like, where's his respect for Max? All that happened.
Oh my gosh. And then this is when we first heard the meme of the
Oh, yeah. This was the Toto. Michael, I sent you an email. Oh, Toto, I don't read my emails during a race. Died at that. Just died.
Oh God, that was so good. This is also, I think, like a bit of a turning point for Lewis. Was this his 100th win? Was that in Silverstone or was that somewhere else?
No, that was
later. But yeah, it felt like a turning point for Lewis, where it was like he won his home race, still some drama, but hey,
I think it's where it showed that like Lewis wasn't afraid to have his elbows out too.
Exactly. And then where did we go next?
We went to Hungary.
Where is this? Like, I don't even know where we're going anymore. Hungary. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodness gracious.
I know. Exhausted.
Yeah, we had the Hungarian turn one chaos at the very beginning.
Yeah, and it led to one of the most surprising, I think, wins of the season, which is Esteban Ocon. Yeah. P1 with the support of Fernando Alonso. Rider quite
the blockade. You guys remember he was blocking Lewis for laps. And it was really exciting to see, because I think that Fernando Alonso had been pretty steady all season, but this is the point where he like really stood out and really showed his expertise, but also that he wasn't like an old dude, you know, like he still got it. He still got it. We made a TikTok about that turn one chaos, because it was Valtteri and Lance Stroll, I think, that did a lot of the bumps, initial bumps.
Yeah, you're right.
Right, and Valtteri went into Lando, and we made a TikTok about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was like, that's a really sad TikTok. I used a song from Euphoria, or like a sound clip from Euphoria, where it's like, oh, I forget what it is, but something about how like every time you think it's working out, it doesn't. And then you just see Valtteri take out all the cars. He got penalized pretty heavily for that, by the way.
And he had to serve that for the following race. He got grid penalties, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 spaces, wasn't it? Insane.
What was the next one?
Caitlin, we headed over. Yeah, so Valtteri took his grid penalties to Monza. And Caitlin,
we will like, there's only one way to remember Monza. Actually, there's two very good ways if you actually think about it. So maybe the first one, and not the big one that we think of, but like Lewis and Max came together to the point where like Max's car went airborne and landed on top of Lewis's car, and they both DNF'd.
Yeah,
let's remember that we saw Max's car tire on Lewis's helmet.
It was insane.
What happened this season, you guys?
It feels like it was 7 years ago, but Caitlin's right. It happened this season. And I'm going to give you the next one too, girl, because I know how much.
Thank you. Yes, this one was fun, because it was the McLaren one too.
The 1-2 that we all needed, frankly.
Who would have thought that was coming?
Honestly, it was the best. It was so great to see Daniel Ricciardo in P1 after just like seasons of trying to figure out his way.
TDH.
Yeah. And even
Lando too. It was just so sweet. They had so many celebrations.
It just was such a party.
There were shoeies galore. Everyone did a shoey.
We were gagging. Like, no, couldn't watch that part. But it was really, really exciting because.
And we found out Netflix was filming McLaren's team during the Monza weekend. So that'll be a fantastic episode. That'll be a feel-good episode for sure for this season.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. But you know what makes me like interested? So we know that Max said no to Netflix. So I wonder if like how much, I would think the final weekend they would have split the teams between Mercedes and Red Bull. So like how much of it does not, like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure that out later.
I think Christian Horner is going to have enough to say between 20 people, but
and then from there we went to Spa, And if you're following us on Instagram, this is when our Instagram stories were just so chaotic because, to quote Caitlin, it was the race that wasn't.
Because it was every however long, we're like, oh, they're pushing back restart. So it was rain, right?
Yeah.
It was raining quite a bit in Spa.
Yeah.
And so they postponed the start. And then every few minutes, can't remember how long, they're like, keep postponing it, keep postponing it, keep postponing it. And keep in mind, it's still raining and the fans are there with rain jackets and looking miserable.
And then they call it.
They never actually ended up racing. They did 2 laps behind a safety car to make it count as a race, right?
Yeah.
But didn't do any racing.
So they got half points.
Everyone was awarded half points based on their qualification results because you're not going to pass cars when you're behind the safety car.
Yeah.
So this was the race where George got his very first podium.
Was he in P3?
I think it was P3, yeah. I think it was 3. I can't remember.
Whatever. It was exciting for Georgie.
But for the rest of the season, we have seen 0.5s behind everyone's points.
I know, which was so frustrating. It was very ugly. I'll be honest.
Yep.
We then went to Zandvoort.
Yep, which looks like a really fun track to go. By the way, you should see that one. But yeah, it's Max's home race. There's a lot of orange. Really, that's what we remember.
Yeah,
Max won his home race.
I know. I was just like, this is really great for him. The fans were crazy. They changed, like, what are they called? It's like the speed limit signs in the city from like 30, 33 for Max's number. You could really tell like the hometown hero was like going to take it. And sure enough, he won. So it was good to see.
I remember Alonso's radio. He hadn't quite made it to the finish line yet, but he saw the like orange smoke. He's like, so I'm guessing Max won. I thought that was funny.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah, Zandvoort.
Indeed.
It looked like a beautiful day. Lots of orange. Could have been fun.
Yeah.
But from there, we go to Sochi. And there was drama at Sochi.
And this is where we actually, Caitlin, didn't you have someone in your life was actually at the race in Sochi?
Yeah. Actually, one of my directors said she had gone over and seen the Sochi race. And I was like, so jealous.
We were stricken with some shit rain, dude. Some shit weather towards the end there.
It was kind of like taunting, I guess, the race.
Yeah.
And then right at the end of the race, it looked like it was touch and go if it was actually going to hit a bit of the course or not. And I think it did. I know it did. But we have Lando in P1.
And everyone's so excited.
And we have Lewis in P2. And then people make the call to change to wet tires because they're like, yeah, it's going to be enough that your slicks can handle it. Lando challenged his team. He said, no, I'm not coming in.
Which was a bit of a mistake. Hey,
he suffered for that call.
Did he end up on the podium?
No. No. He slid around like Bambi, and then he was like driving so slow, having to make it back to the pits to actually change them after all that happened. Like everyone had pitted, and he stayed on his slicks like Bambi and had to make it to the end of that lap before he could pit and go on to wet.
Oh my God. Okay. So I just looked it up. So this was Lewis Hamilton's 100th win, which is wonderful for him. Max came in P2, nearly a minute on Lewis's time, 53 seconds on Lewis's time. And guess who got that P3? Our consistent king, Carlos Sainz. Just the most random podiums for this guy all season.
I love it though. And we will discuss Carlos more, you guys, but he killed it with Ferrari this year.
Yeah, he did really, really well. So heartbreak for Lando, just another surprise for Carlos. Always just with the surprises for Carlos.
That's something we didn't mention for Monaco. Speaking of those two, we had a Carlando podium at Monaco, which was very exciting.
Oh, we did.
I guess because it wasn't drama-esque, but that was fun to see.
It was fun to see. Yeah, I forgot that we had one in Monaco. I apologize. Sorry, boys. We then flew to Turkey.
Yeah, and I remember this one was like, it was a mishmash of weird things that happened. It wasn't like one big drama moment, but it was just a bunch of, I remember we were talking about it on the episode and we were like, It was just a weird race.
It was just a weird race.
Yeah. So Lewis had fastest qualification, but was it maybe an engine penalty? He did not actually get to take pole.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And so Valtteri gets pole, but Lewis signs it. This should have been mine pretty much.
Oh my God, that was that race. It feels like it was.
That was Turkey.
Oh, holy shit.
But yeah, Valtteri starts from pole and wins. So that was his 10th GP win, which is good for Valtteri.
Good for Valtteri, but like, honestly, if he wasn't not he is driver number 2 to Lewis, like he would have had more dubs in that Mercedes, to be honest. So we noted here that there was just a lot of radio communication issues, which I do remember that. Like nothing was
right. Like people were asking radio questions to their teams and there's no response, and we're like, what's dead happening? And then there was like, you knew someone was saying something, but F1 TV for some reason was not playing half of the audio. And we're just like, I want to know what was production said.
Ever.
Yeah, it was Jesus bonkers at Turkey. Anyways, we go from Turkey to the States, and we're at Coda.
We're at Coda. And this was just like celeb spotting to the finest. This is when the whole like Megan Thee Stallion drama happened. There was like literally every single famous person.
They ended up making like a rule based on that, right?
Yeah, that like you need.
It was Megan Thee Stallion's bodyguard, like shoved off or said something to Martin Brundle, and after all that happened, they gave like a regulation that like bodyguards can't do shit like that.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you can make a rule that quickly for that, but nothing else. The standout for us though was Shaq
on the podium. Oh, that was a great decision. That was hilarious.
We were thinking, I think we talked about this in the episode, but he was just perfectly in frame, because generally speaking, when there's a person that's going to present, they're just standing off to the side. So you do see them in frame when it's like they're doing a shot or like a pan of everything. But like when you're just seeing the 3 people on the podium, you typically don't see them. But Shaq, where he was positioned in between where Max and Lewis were standing. So he was like in frame the whole time and dwarfing all these drivers.
He was because Max and Lewis were on their podiums, which are maybe like 2 feet.
I would assume so, yeah.
Not more. And Shaq's the same height as them, standing flat. It was amazing to see.
It was so fucking funny. Oh my God.
And then we also had like Danny Rick in all his like Texan apparel the whole week. Just wild kid, but
it was insane. It was so good. It was so good.
But then we go to Mexico. And to be honest, I love the Mexico race. And you guys remember, I said I was in Mexico like just days before this Mexico GP happened. I didn't think about going to the GP race, but you know what? I'm going to time myself better in future years.
I don't remember this race at all.
I just remember it's Checo's dad for celebrations, man.
Was that in Mexico? Yeah,
it was Mexico. Was Checo's dad was just waving his flag. He's the first Mexican to podium on like at the Mexican GP.
Right. Okay.
Oh, it was so cute.
Yeah.
And we also had, I remember our notes, we were saying justice for Yuki, because in qualifications in Mexico is when Yuki, I guess, like was thought to have ruined Max's chances or something, and Christian and Max went after him.
Right. I forgot about that. And Yuki had no idea. He's like, I don't know what I did wrong. Like I pulled over. Yeah. I remember that.
So justice for Yuki.
Always. From there we went to Brazil.
Sao Paulo.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about this.
It's just like reminiscing as we're going through our notes. 3 safety cars in the first half of the Sao Paulo GP.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Max running Lewis so wide, and I think this is where it started getting confusing, because here it was not allowed, right? Like he ended up getting and then Lewis, new engine.
Oh, did he? No, he didn't. And Lewis had to make his spot up on like by just driving, and then he did, because he had a new engine and he powered past everyone. Oh my god. And what else happened? Okay, if you're watching the video right now, have you ever seen those videos with small hands? That's what I look like right now, and I don't know why.
Oh my god, I don't remember.
The qualifications was Lewis was, so how did he do this? Lewis was first, but had to start at the back of the grid. Oh no, he got disqualified.
Right, from qualifying.
Yes. So he ended up P20. And then it was sprints.
Yeah.
And he made it up to 5th in the 24 laps in sprints.
Yeah.
And then he had to take 10 seconds. Was it 10? No, it was a 5-place grid penalty after that.
Yeah.
Was it?
No, I think you're spot on in the
No, so he went 20th to 5th, and then he got, I think it was a 5-place grid penalty, and had to make his way 10th
back up
first.
Yeah.
During the race.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Like, so he got pushed back 25 spots over the course of one weekend, and he still overcame it. And drivers were like, that's more than just a car. Like, that's amazing driver right there that can do that. And damn. And Red Bull came out afterwards. Do you remember saying that, like, we don't know what they did yet?
The car. That was like my favorite thing. Was this the race also where fuck, I don't remember who it was. Where someone
and he was like insinuating that Angela presses like drugs into
hands. Was that it? Was that
I think this was the race. I was like, what?
No, absolutely not. But yeah, I completely forgot that he got bumped back and like had to have the drive of his life to get even on the podium.
And I think people were saying that was the drive of his life, right? Like,
yeah,
you don't overcome that.
What's the Toto meme though that came from this one? You made a note of it.
It was the what was he doing? It's where he like looked at the camera like, yes.
Oh, like the where it was direct.
We have a TikTok about that too, y'all.
Yeah, we are always making TikToks of Toto Wolff because we think it's hilarious.
Oh my god.
And then we close out the season. We go to Qatar.
Yep, in the Middle East. So at the end of the season, first Middle East races in Qatar. Brand new track. And yeah, what happened in Qatar?
I really don't remember this. I just know that there was a lot of tire issues and the curbs were an issue. Pirelli kind of like gave them some judgment, but like not enough. But Alonso on the podium. And he
on the podium,
yeah. And he was fully like, I deserve it. And I was like, you know what? You do.
I did this based on merit. I deserve this podium. Love it. It was the curbs that I think like, because it was Latifi, Russell, and Bottas, right? That had tire issues, maybe some other people, but I remember like those three. It was two Williams, and it was like, oof.
It was
right?
Yeah.
And it was all the same tire.
So
yeah, it came down to everyone thought it was the curbs was an issue. And like those three, I think, overwent what Pirelli had recommended for the medium tires or something.
And that was at the end, right? Which wasn't Fernando Alonso like really pushing it on his tires, but like showing experience.
So he had that, like his engineers were like, don't go on the curbs or something. Like, do not
keep it clean, keep it in the middle.
Oh, so yeah, that happened in Qatar. And then also went straight to Saudi Arabia, another brand new track in the Middle East. We didn't think it was going to be ready in time.
And frankly, I think we were sort of right because it was a fucking mess, this whole race.
Yeah. I remember, like, we put in our notes after the race, like, how do you remember this? It was a lot of confusion. There were safety cars, lots of red flags, collisions, miscommunications, angers. And I'm just like, I'm trying to remember what exactly happened. And I think it was just like such a mishmash that nothing sticks out.
No.
I'm glad we took those notes because like that's good to remember that this was a messy race.
It was,
but I already don't remember. And it was literally this month.
Yeah, it was
3 weeks ago and I don't remember it.
It was just not good. It was just such a mess.
2 weeks ago. Shit.
Caitlin, the fact that you remember anything that this I'm just so impressed because I'm like, I don't remember what happened. I know something happened. I just don't know what. And then you start talking about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that paints a picture. But Saudi was a mess. It was just
another Toto meme come out of it too. Oh, this is the one where Toto slams his earphones.
Yeah.
TikTok on that too.
But is this also the race where Valtteri comes in P3 in the last like 0.5 seconds?
Yep, that would be it.
He snagged from Esteban Ocon.
It was Esteban, right?
Yeah. And it's so sad because if you listen to the video, there's Valtteri, he's like, yes, we got it. And then they, anyways, but then you also hear Esteban, who's just like so upset. But then you cut to Toto, who's like got this huge smile on his face and is applauding because his team somehow pulled it off in the last second. Like, huge. And then we close the season at Abu Dhabi. So what you spent the majority of this podcast talking about, but obviously overshadowed by controversy because of the safety car. So
like we'll just call that. We're talking about what drama happened in 2021. Well, it came to a very big conclusion at Abu Dhabi with drama. So
exactly,
it's been discussed in detail in this episode already. We will not go any further.
The one thing that we forgot to mention is the Hungarian Grand Prix. Is that the one where Sebastian Vettel had his podium taken from him?
That was Baku, I want to say. Oh no, it was Baku.
Was it Baku? Hold on, I'm gonna Google this super fast.
Oh, whoa, maybe I'm wrong. No, it might be Hungary because he was being very vocal about LGBT
Q rights. And that would have been Hungary.
It was Hungary. Okay. Yeah. So I've seen sorry guys. I saw the pictures of Sebastian when he did get a Baku podium. Did he get the Baku podium this year or was it before?
I think it was before.
Did you see him with the hat they get at Baku? So yeah. Okay, it wasn't this season, sorry y'all, but he did get one in Hungary and it was taken away. Yeah, that was bullshit.
That was, we were not impressed. Apparently there's not enough fuel in his car or something. So
yeah. So it turned out to be a legit reason, but like there was insinuation that it had to do with activism.
So Caitlin, after like our quick little recap of all the drama, what are your favorite moments of the season?
Oh my God. I think I'm going to change them from what I originally noted.
I was actually going to change my top drivers, so I think that's fine.
I think I'm going to put number 3 is all the Toto memes we got out of this year. Like, I just can't believe how amazing he is with just, he's so expressionable.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He doesn't have a poker face, I think is what we need to say.
I absolutely love it.
So would you put that at number 3 or would you put that
at my number 3?
Okay.
Oh, it's actually so tight for number 2 now. I want to actually say number 2 might be it might be Hamilton's run in the Sao Paulo GP.
Yeah.
Remembering how many places he had to come back up. Like, just absolutely amazing. And my number 1 is the celebrations from Checo's dad in Mexico, because I will never get over how cute that was. And then, like, I remember Charles was telling Checo, and like he called him, he said, I wish my dad was still here, like, because he's been doing stuff like this too, and like to see how happy your dad was like, it meant so much to me. And I was like, oh.
It's so sweet.
So that's my number 1.
Sweet.
I'll remember that.
So
what's your top 3?
I'm changing my too. Okay. So my number 3, I'm still gonna stick with the Carlos Sainz just random podiums and how he basically won. I think 2 of them just in the most random ways. Just being there in the right time, the right place, consistent, love it. My number 2, though, I'm gonna stick with you. Actually, completely forgot about Lewis Hamilton's amazing drive in Brazil and just consistency there. So, going to give it to Lewis for his Brazil race. I thought it was amazing. And I'm still going to stick with my number 1, which is the McLaren 1-2, because it was just a giant party and it made us really happy. Like, it was just joy. Obviously we saw the other teams win, but there was something about having McLaren on top after years of struggle that just made us it. So
that's on my top 5. It's in my top 5. I swear, you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. We'd be interested. You guys let us know what your top 3 were. We'll share them. I think that'd be a fun thing to do on social. Holiday season, just share what we loved about this F1 season.
Seriously.
Yeah. Okay, top 5 drivers. Who performed this year, Shani? Who are your top 5?
You need to go first because I need to change mine.
Okay, I'll go first. I think I'm keeping mine the same because I thought these through pretty well. Actually, so I don't actually have Hamilton on my top 5, you guys. I might put him as number 5, actually. I had Gasly as number 5, but Hamilton deserves a mention. He really does, especially after talking about that Sao Paulo GP.
Yeah.
Hamilton's my number 5.
Okay.
I have Checo as number 4 because it's been noted like Max would not have won without the help of Checo.
Yeah.
And that was proven on numerous occasions. I think Checo did great his first season with Red Bull. And just that Mexican GP is living in my memory very happily. So he's 4. Lando, I put his number 3 because Lando had a phenomenal first half of the season.
He really did. He really, really did.
And I think like Sochi had quite a bit of an effect on him because he didn't do so well after Sochi. But he still has so much room to grow. My number 2, I'm putting as Max, like absolutely phenomenal. He was in a league of himself with Lewis, and I think Max was the better probably of the 2 this season. TBH. My number 1, I'm putting is Carlos. But he was best of the rest, came out of nowhere, first year with Ferrari, and he beats Charles, and he beats McLaren's, and he beats everyone else, and I'm just like, I love it. You go, Carlos.
Yeah. He was phenomenal this season. And actually so I swapped mine around a little bit, and just based off of your definition of who did what when. So the thing is, like, Max and Lewis, obviously Max, I'm going to put Max ahead of Lewis. I'm sorry. So Lewis, I put in 5th, but just because we're changing of like who really performed this season. So I want to give actually a special mention and shout out to just Alpine in general, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, especially Fernando Alonso being, out of racing and then coming back, I think really impressed a lot of people. So special mentions to them. But then Lewis, I am going to put at number 5, and then Max in 4th, again, just because, I don't know, we predicted them to do well, and they just did well and performed as well as we thought they were going to do. So
they were best of the season. You really can't deny that.
Exactly. Like, those are the easy ones. It's everyone else that's a little difficult. I also put Lando at 3, and it's because he is just the McLaren boy. Like, I think he is going to be world champion. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of like when. So I was just impressed with him all season. I think he had like a bit of shit luck towards the end of the season, but he had 2 punctures in 2 races where they had to pit him again.
Yeah.
To swap tires.
Like, the McLaren car just seemed to kind of like not perform as well.
Is it that it didn't perform as well, or did the Ferrari upgrade just like
Ferrari upgrade
blew it out of the water?
So maybe that was it. Yeah. And also I just feel like after Sochi, just Lando needed time. He didn't give himself time, I don't think, to, because that was serious for someone who's 21, 22 to
be that close.
It would have been his first GP win like that. Yeah, he should have taken time.
It was really close. So in number 2, I am putting my crush, my man's Pierre Gasly. And the reason, I have good reason for this, is because he is truly doing the best possible in that car. Always qualifying somewhere between P4 to P6, always finishing in the points somewhere between P4 to P6. And it's rare to see him any further, like, lower than that. He's been a great team leader in guiding AlphaTauri to where they are. And it's just been great to see. So I'm hoping he can get in a better car. If not, that AlphaTauri can become a better car. But yes, I'm putting Pierre in 2. And I'm with you with Carlos. Carlos freaking Sainz, number 1. Truly, he is just, I think going into the season, everyone had their like doubts whether he could be a world champion. I actually think he's totally can. And it's because he's so consistent. He is consistent, gets out of the way when there's like crazy shit happening, crazy shit that might take out his teammates. And he just focuses on his race. Something I saw on YouTube is people saying just how intelligent he is, how he approaches the car like an engineer. Lest we forget, y'all, he is in year 1 at Ferrari, coming off of like the really kind of tension and bad blood that existed with Sebastian Vettel. So the fact that he came in has been like able to rein it in, be positive. I think he's really showing that he can be a contender. So
I think what Carlos has proven to all teams is that he's the guy you want on your team if you want to kind of turn things around.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And he's going to be wanted by Ferrari to stick around. He's going to be wanted by maybe McLaren again, because Danny, we know, did not have a great season. McLaren might be thinking, fuck, we should have kept Sainz. All the other teams, like honestly, Alpine, AlphaTauri, even maybe Alfa Romeos and the Haas's and Williams, I don't know. They probably, if they had assigns, they could do good stuff and turn those teams around. And for Mercedes and Red Bull, I don't know, like they're just their own bubbles. But maybe next year with more level playing field between all the cars, the drivers might make a bit more of a difference, right? So you might want Carlos on your team.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch just because, like you said, he's so consistent. He is showing up, and like, yes, we know that Charles has better pace. Like Charles has always been quicker on that, like that one lap. If you had to time them, Charles will be faster. But it's that consistency that gets you where you need to go and helps teams with the constructors. It also got him just the most random podiums because he was just there. So I don't know. I think we gotta Carlos no longer underrated.
Clear winner from Get Checkered. Ding ding ding. So that's our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts though, you guys. We are interested to hear.
Yeah, I might maybe later this week I'll throw some polls on Instagram or something or on Twitter, and you can all vote onto who you think is the best driver of the year. We have ours.
So we're just gonna kind of close up this episode with just a few more topics. One being lessons for next year. And this is going to be lessons for the F1 community and world. What we think, you know, coming from our uneducated hot takes.
There we go. Uneducated hot takes. One is that we need consistency from the FIA. It seems to be a pipe dream for fans, but without that consistency, it's hard to understand. As like Caitlin, I'm going to say it. We are essentially commentators to some degree. It's hard for us to understand what the hell is happening. It's hard for regular fans to understand what's happening. So we just want consistency.
I'll let you do this next one too, because I know this is Shanika does our activism corners.
So with the FIA and their whole mantra of like we race as one, I don't know, we got some feelings about it. They're racing in a lot of places where there's severe human rights problems, and there's literally no acknowledgement other than a statement every now and then. So for us, it's just actually following through what that means and maybe looking at, you know, where do their morals lie? We know it's all about money, but what actually works within FIA and Formula One to make sure they're standing up for people and human rights as they go into these countries, because it's super, super important. I don't know how we push on them to do it, but we'd love to see more on that front.
Yeah, like we don't have the answers right now, you guys.
No, we don't.
But
absolutely not.
If we all collectively put our brains together, we can come up with something.
Exactly. Because we don't want any more sports washing.
No. As we're going into like 10-year deals in some of these
places. Yep.
What can be done though? Like knowing that's the situation we're in. You guys, put your brains together. What can we feasibly do?
I have no idea.
Me neither, but we'll think it through. And maybe the one thing I want to see next year built upon even more is around sustainability. Like we've done a few episodes with like F1's sustainability strategy, and then we also did a Williams one. We know that Ferrari has a sustainability strategy, but I want to see more. I want them to be more prominent. I maybe want them to be more aggressive if they can be. What I push maybe for them to do is to welcome more input from fans and from like external sources into what can be done differently too, and just kind of collect feedback. That'd be interesting. I think that'd be really valuable for them. So that's what I would love to see, a lesson for next year.
There we go. So to close out some things that we're looking forward to for next year, Caitlin, the big one, we did like a whole freaking episode, I feel like, on this.
I know. We like looking forward to next year. What is this cost cap going to do between the competition and all the cars? I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the maybe like lower teams or mid teams, like kind of matching if they can, or like more matching the Mercedes and the Red Bulls.
I think our next episode we'll do to close out the year, we'll just be on predictions like that. It'll be more conversational, more fun, just being like, who do we think is going to be where? I don't know. But I'm with you. I think the cost cap, some of the changes, like even the drivers switching teams, like what will this mean for Alfa Romeo, right? Having Valtteri. We know Valtteri's a good driver. Consistency is not there, but he has pace. So what will he do in the new car? What does Guan Yu Zhou entering Formula One? What does that look like? So there's a lot of question marks. And to be frank, I know this is like a next episode thing, but like my eyes on Ferrari for sure.
Carlos and Charles, they are a duo.
Yeah.
They're going to go far.
They're one to watch. I also think like, I'm curious to see how Georgie does.
I'm interested if Danny can have a better season.
Yeah, he better.
If he can't,
it's over, right?
I don't think McLaren keeps him.
I think his contract is over in 2023 anyway. So if it's not, then
we'll see.
We'll definitely see.
But then there were some teams also tying into this fact is like some teams like Haas didn't really put money into the car this year. They saved a lot to put into development for next year's car. So what will that do versus like the Mercedes and Red Bull putting a lot of money this year because they're title contenders? So maybe they didn't focus the same amount on the 2022 development. So how are those going to align? I don't know.
We'll have to see. And also like Haas is not the only one. Even Ferrari, like they were testing a lot of stuff towards the end of the season that were going to be.
They were third in constructors, even if they did that then. So what can they? You guys, is Ferrari going to come back?
Is Ferrari going to bring it home? Could you imagine? Oh my God.
I think that would be a lot of fun. I would become a Tifosi girl, man. I don't know how you want to call them. I'd be like, yes, I can cheer for Carlos and Charles happily.
I mean, there is no Formula One without Ferrari, so definitely keeping an eye on them. But I think that's all we got today, folks.
Yeah.
We've also got a lot of new listeners, so I want to say hello. Over the last 2 episodes.
Check us out on YouTube, you guys, because then you can see our faces and we're not scary people. I don't know if we sound scary on the podcast, but we're really not.
I also touch my hair way too much, so you can take a shot every time I play with my hair.
Hey, or that's a nice holiday drinking game.
But yes, like Caitlin said, we're on YouTube. Just at Get Checkered. If you search the channel, we don't have the handle. We can't have it yet. And we're on TikTok and Instagram and on TikTok. So the last episode that we recorded, I think I made a plea out to everyone that's listening. I was like, okay, I want to cross 1,000 followers on TikTok. So if you haven't done that, like go follow us there. Turns out we had actually already crossed 1,000 followers on TikTok by the time we were recording. So hello to the over 1,000 people that follow us on TikTok. Thank you for that. And yes, tell your friends about our podcast so we can get more people everywhere.
And if you want to get involved next year with Get Checkered, like we have, like we're working with Nicole. She did the experience in Mexico GP and we'd love to write more with her. And Courtney being our co-host for some of these. Congrats. Courtney was not able to make this episode because I guess there was a birth in the family, so that's always exciting. So yeah, and like I don't know,
email us. We
like making new friends, so if you want to talk F1, we're in for it.
Yeah, and if you don't want to email us, you can also just follow us on all the socials.
Send us a DM.
Yeah, on Twitter, Instagram. We're not on Facebook.
I don't think. If we are, it's not a very good page.
It's not active. I'm fairly certain. But yeah, friends, we'll have, like I said, one more episode before the year is done. But I'm hoping that we can pre-record that so that we can actually have like a nice little break for the 2 of us. Hopefully. Caitlin's smiling as she's thinking about all the stuff she needs to pack. Anyways, friends, stay checkered. Yeah.
Stay checkered, friends, and we'll talk to you again soon. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Enjoy
everybody.
time off if you're off of work. I'm jealous.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.